Kako je točno 10 sati, sad imamo vremena i za poprilično pitanja, pa ćemo ispraviti sve ove dane kad je bilo vremena za manje pitanja, pa eto, izvolite. Evo prvo pitanje. Može na hrvatskom ili engleskom, kako god.
Well, I have a question.
Yeah. Are you asking it in English?
Yeah.
Well, why don't you ask it in Croatian, so that everyone can understand and then they can translate it? Otherwise, I'll have to repeat it.
Well, it's useful to practice my English.
Okay. Okay.
Anyway.
Okay. Okay.
For the previous 30 to 40 years, the Europe has seen strange tendency, namely that profit is privatized and bankruptcy is socialized. And I'm simply going to pose a simple question. What's your opinion about the IMF?
I think it should be obvious what my position on the IMF is. This is essentially a bank created to police the economic system. And wherever it goes, with it comes trouble, with it comes attacks on the poor. It's the IMF is a bank who is essentially there to preserve the elites. In the globe, it has wrecked the African continent. Not many people think about Africa these days. But country after country has been wrecked by the IMF pushing through neoliberal measures. And unless countries went down that route, they were not in favor of giving them money. And the money they did give them was by and large spent by the elites to promote themselves, or as they explained it, to create a larger middle class. But the larger middle class, unfortunately, was essentially limited to a very tiny minority. So the disparities in wealth were huge wherever the IMF went. And it's not a neutral institution. And the way it, in my opinion, is not to deal with it individually. And to challenge it and not to accept it. And what it is suggesting to the Greeks and what the EU is also suggesting to the Greeks, it's just atrocious, really. It is going to, we don't know how this one is going to end. But even if the government succeeds in defeating the mass movement in Greece, there will be bitternesses and anger that will remain for a long time, and that could erupt again over something totally different. That is what the IMF is. And you would have thought that with the collapse of the Wall Street system in 2008, they would have thought, even as rational capitalists, we can't carry on like this. Instead, they're saying, well, maybe neoliberalism was badly regulated, we should regulate it a bit better. That's all.
So we have another question here.
Nemam pitanja, samo bi iznio jednu konstataciju. Šteta da ovakvog govora nije bilo kod nas prije 20 godina.
I agree with you.
Ako ima još sličnih konstatacija ili pitanja, tamo jedno pitanje može prvo, pa onda se vraćamo ovdje.
Sigurna sam da ste vrlo dobro poznati sa filmom Zeitgeist i sa cijelim pokretom i vjerojatno se slažete s većinom, postulata. Nekad, ja sam ga dva put pogledala i čini mi se malo ipak pretjerano i nategnuto, pogotovo cijela ta teorija oko Feda, Federal Reserves, ne znam kako se kaže na hrvatski. Pa vaše mišljenje o tome?
Which movie?
Zeitgeist.
I have not seen it, I'm sorry. I apologize for not seeing it, because I should see it, I suppose, but you know, the older one gets, the more one rations what one sees, and I tend to see movies which are not popular movies, which are shown at festivals or for small audiences, art house movies. It's like the books I read now, but so I'm really sorry I can't reply to your question.
Kakva je vaša prognoza šta će se dešavati u Europskoj uniji sljedećih 5 do 10 godina?
In where?
U Europskoj uniji.
I think the European Union is in serious trouble. They, at the very beginning of the European Union, when they were still discussing the idea and then they formed it as an economic union, one of the leaders of that union, Charles de Gaulle, who was ruler of France, president of France at the time, said to his colleagues, never allow Britain to enter the economic European Union, because this will be the American Trojan horse. And they will bring with it, they will just do what the United States tell them, and Europe will never be able to maintain an independent entity, an independent identity. And he was absolutely right. The neoliberal Trojan horse, or Trojan mule I should say, because a horse is something beautiful, that was pushed through in Europe, meant that they made the European Union totally into a bankers' union, a union for the elites, a union for big money, and the United States pressured them to enlarge it enormously without any social program. And they did so, and now they are paying the price for it with the eruption. It would have been far better if Jacques Delors' first plan for a social Europe had been implemented, and then they had allowed people to enter it who agreed with that, i.e. they could have developed an alternative to neoliberalism. Instead they capitulated to it, and they are now part of the problem, and they now know that, and there are big discussions going on in Germany about why did we allow Greece in the first place? Well, yeah, but not just Greece. You have allowed other countries too. I mean, you know, the deficit in the budget of Britain is much higher than in Greece, by the way. So it's a big problem for them, and it's an open question whether the European Union can exist in its present form indefinitely. I think over the next 5 to 6 years, if not before, they will face a severe crisis. And then what are they going to do? Go for a core Europe? It's difficult to do that now. But they might try some measures. And here in the former Yugoslavia, I think it's best to deal with the European Union collectively. I mean, I am very strongly in favor of all the former republics, you know, not reforming Yugoslavia, because that's difficult, but however nice it would be, but it's difficult now. But actually coming together and creating a Yugosphere, a confederation of Balkan republics, and then dealing with the European Union as a collective. It'll give much more power than trying to compete with each other to get it. And that, I think, is something that should be done. That is, if the European Union is going to let anyone new in at all. I think that it's shell-shocked by what has happened in Greece, totally shell-shocked. And there will be lots of discussions taking place behind closed doors, which we are not going to be allowed to be part of, as to what's going to happen. And you know just one thing, only that,